Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today's tutorial is on this large album where I used the Stamperia Vintage Library paper collection. Finished size is approximately 8 1/4 wide, 10 inches tall, and about 2 7/8 on the spine. This collection was super fun to work with, the paper's easy to work with, and I really like how this came out. So right up front you'll see that we have dimensional 3D look on how I did the cover, so you can kind of see that. And here's our back, and also down here that's lifted as well, and it's sturdy. Let's get into it. So when we first open this up on page 1, what's holding everything down is this large folder. And I did not finish the inside with any decorative paper or any solid colored cardstock. We do make this in the tutorial so that you have one that fits appropriately for the page. So these just fold out. And over here we have a tuck to maybe slide a photograph back there, but I made this at the end when I was doing my picture mats. Now we don't do photo mats together. Everyone has their own taste and style on how they like to do their picture mats. But we did do our folder together. Right here we have a tuck behind the wizard, and I have a large photo mat here. And then there's a large pocket in the back, and I made a folder so I can just place my photographs in there. Over here what we did was a large pocket. And the mats I did in here are pretty large. And then I just did another little folder here for a smaller photograph. And you can fit more in the pockets than what you see I have. Moving on to page 3. Right up front what we have is an envelope. Picture mats in there. I just have that in there for right now. And then it's also a pocket, and I have a large photo mat right here, and all I have to do is go in and glue down a photograph to that. So it's all ready to go there. Alright, this is magnetic and it opens up. And over here we have a flip, and of course you can put a photograph here and here. And then I made a tuck right behind the dragon. And then over here we have 2 fold outs. And then we have this large spacious pocket, and I have a large mat in there. Over here what we have is a large tuck right up front, and I just made another one of these, and I did finish the inside on that one. And then we have the large image of the dragon, and he is a very large tuck, so you can use him like a pocket. And I have this folder I made. Moving on. Next page, just a very large pocket. And I have made another folder to get more photos. Over here is similar to our page 3. We have that envelope right up front. And I have a photo mat in there. So it's also a pocket. So again, you can see the size of my mats. And then I made a very large folder. And then this is magnetic and it opens up. Again, we have a flip over here and a tuck. And this one we made so we can get it in this way or through the top. And I have a small little folder here. But you can get a larger photograph back on in there on a mat. It will fit. Over here is open for easy placement of your photographs. And then we have these, and of course you can lay your photographs in there. And then we have a tuck back here that you can utilize if you'd like. And I have a mat stuck back there. Kind of goes all back together. And then our next page we left alone so that we can just place our photographs. And back here we have a large double pocket. I have a mat here and I have a larger mat in the back. So all I have to do is place my photograph. It's for larger photos. So that is what we are making today. Underneath this video in the description area, you will find the link to the free PDF for the materials and the cutting guide. And also you can buy the supplies at my store. Let's move on into the materials list. Materials list, there's not a whole lot to this. I'm going to run through this really quick. You're going to need 2 of the Stamperia Vintage Library 12 by 12 paper packs for this large album. I'm using the American Crafts 80-pound 12 by 12 cardstock, and there are 25 sheets in this pack. You're going to want 2 sheets of medium weight chipboard, and I'm just using black. You can use craft, but these are 12 by 12 size. You're going to need some Tyvek for your binding, and I sell these in the envelope. 1 of the basic gray large magnetic discs, 2 of the score tape 3/8 inch size. You're also going to want, now this is optional, you don't have to, but I am using the Tim Holtz Distressing Vintage Photo for going around the edges distressing with some ink. Last, I am using the Art Glitter Dries Clear Glue, and you'll want to make sure you get that precision tip. Okay. Things you're going to need for this tutorial is you're going to need a scoring board, your scoring tool or bone folder. You're going to want a paper cutter, pencil, eraser, craft knife, and a pair of scissors. Let's get started. We're working on constructing the base album. Now one thing is you'll want to get your pre-cuts ready to go, and under this video in the description area there's a link to a free PDF so you can get all your pre-cuts ready to go, and so when we review them we can double check ourselves, and I can double check myself to make sure everything's right. There's also a link under the video to my store. I appreciate all the support I can get. It's where you can buy the materials that you see. Alright, pre-cuts, let's review them. Under the base album section, it said to cut 2 pieces of your chipboard to 8 by 10, and we labeled these cover. We also cut a 2.5 by 10 inch piece, we called it a spine, and it's on our chipboard. We cut 2 pieces of Tyvek, and it's 1 inch by 10 inch, and we didn't label these are pretty distinct. We cut 1 piece 10.5 by 12 inches, and we called it an album wrap. We cut another piece that was 11 by 12 inch, and that's also called our album wrap. We cut 3 pieces that were 8.25 by 9.5, and we called it an inner page. Now I want to point out it does not matter if your scoring board, the 0 starting point is here or over here. I will go ahead and get us situated in the video, make sure that we are going in the right direction. So we cut 3 pieces here. On each one of these, what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 8.25 inch across. On each one, we just scored at 5/8. We cut 2 pieces 7.75 by 9.5, and we called these inside cover. There's no scoring. We also cut a 4.5 by 9.5, and we just called it a spine cover. It's for the inside. All right. Let's get to assembling our album. The first pieces we're going to want is our 10.5 by 12 and our 11 by 12 album wrap. You're going to situate these so where you are 12 inches tall. So I'm going to put a 12 right here. So we are 12 inches tall. My sloppy writing. We're going to grab our 3/8 score tape. What you're going to want to do is I have the 10.5 on this side and the 11 on this side. We're going on the 10.5 inch. We're 12 inches this way. We're going to place a piece of our 3/8 score tape right along the side without going over. If you go over, you'll want to snip that. So we're just going to seam these together is all. Once we get that down, let's give it a good burnishing and clip off any overhang. Our next step is to remove the score tape backing, and we're going to lay this over the other. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I am not good at getting things straight, so I like to grab my paper cutter to where I have the paper guide up here so that I can place this up here straight, and it'll make it much easier when I try to get my other one on. Let me get this out of the way. So I have that there. Again, I'm 12 inches tall. I'm just going to slide that underneath there. And I'm going to overlap it. And this is up against the paper guide as well. And I'm going to give that a good burnishing. If you're new, burnishing, you'll want to do that after every time you lay glue or score tape. It gets the air out from underneath and helps your papers marry together. You don't want air pockets underneath because you can get liftage. The next pieces are the chipboard covers and the chipboard spine. Let's grab our score tape. I'm going to get this out of the way right now. On each one of these pieces, we're going to lay score tape all the way around the outside without going over, like a picture frame, on each. So let's do that really quick. If you are new to my channel, thank you very much for visiting. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I put out free videos all the time on how to make albums and sometimes some other projects too that are kind of fun. And of course, those of you that have already subscribed or follow me, once again, thank you so much. All of your support has helped me through these years to continue to offer free videos and tutorials, and don't forget to comment below each of the videos that I put out that you're watching. I like to hear from y'all and what you have to say, whether it just be hi, how are ya, or great job, or whatever. Okay, I have that down. Let's start over here. On the front, on this one over here, I'm gonna go one down the middle, and I'm gonna lay two on each side of that. So this is the front. Whoops, I am having a hard time today, guys. Front. Okay. This is going to be for the back, and we'll go one down the middle and one on each side. Here's this, and we're going to lay one down the middle, and we're going to go one on each side of that. All right, let's give this all a good burnish. Okay. Let's grab our album wrap. The 10.5 inch is on this side, 11 inch on this side. We're going to grab our front, and we're going to remove the score tape backing. And how we're going to place this is we're going to bring this over, leave yourself a good inch away from the edge, an inch away from the bottom and the top. Just kind of center it in there as straight as you can. And of course we're going to do that together, but I do like to tell you what we're doing sometimes before we do it, so you're not flying blind, you know what's to come. A little easier sometimes to understand. Here we go. Inch from the side and about an inch from the bottom, and I'm going to try and keep this as straight as I can. If you get it a little crooked, that's okay. Next is our spine. I'm going to remove the score tape backing. Now when we place this, we're going to leave a 1/4 inch spacing away from this one. And we need that spacing for when we wrap and fold over. And you're going to line up the bottom of your chipboard with the bottom of this one. So let me remove my score tape backing and we'll place that together. Here we are, 1/4 inch away. And try to get this as straight as you can. If you're a little off, it's all right. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. Remove the score tape backing, leave a 1/4 inch away, and place it. Here we go, lining up with the bottom of this one. I got a little more than a 1/4 inch over there, but I'm not going to worry too much. I should be fine. I'll have plenty to wrap still. There we go. The next, let's grab our Tyvek. I'm going to set this off to the side. All we're going to do with our Tyvek is we're going to lay a piece without going over, top to bottom on the left side and also on the right side of these pieces. Now, if it crinkles up or on you or gets a little unruly, don't worry about it. You're not going to see this piece. It gets covered. Any of you that don't know what Tyvek is, it's a very strong material that's very hard to tear. And I've always used this in my binding. It's what's going to keep the covers to the spine in case any tear outs or damage that your album may get. Maybe from improper storage, maybe from being smashed, whatever. I'm going to take this back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the score tape backing on these pieces. You see where your gap is, your spacing? Well, we're just going to lay that right over the spacing evenly, top to bottom, on each one. So let's do that. Okay. Try to get that on there straight as I can, but if it's crooked, it's okay, guys. So I got that on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to burnish. And you can see that I got a little wrinkle, but I'm not going to worry about that. Just give that a good burnishing and do the same with this side. Let's grab our score tape, and what we're going to do is we are going to go all the way around on our chipboard at the edge like a picture frame. So let's do that really quick. Once you have all the score tape, what you're going to do is now we're going to place it at the edge of our piece here. And you only need to go as far as your chipboard is, so right here without going over. And the reason why we don't have to go to the edge is because we'll be clipping at an angle. So we'll do it on each side. So I come over here, and then I'll tear it off, or you can clip it with your scissors, but we'll continue doing this all the way around. Let's give this a good burnish. Once you've burnished, let's grab your scissors. Now what you're going to want to do is where the tip of your chipboard is, you'll want to make maybe a pencil mark about 1/8 of an inch away, because what we're going to end up doing is cutting that, and we need that spacing for when we tuck in our corners. It just makes the corners, by the time we're done, not so pointy. So go ahead and do that, and then just cut. And you don't need to measure your cut. You just need to make sure that you leave about 1/8 or so. All right, here's my front. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get this ready to wrap. So we're going to little by little start bending our cardstock, not all at once. Now we have a seam here that's under the spine, and we're going to start there, and I just have my hands here, and here's the seam right underneath. I'm just going to do a little at a time. Now sometimes when wrapping on those seams you can get splintering, and don't be too concerned because I will show you the remedy on how to fix that once we get this all together. So I'm going to make my next pass here, and now I'm going to go to the other long side, starting where that seam is and working just a little by little all the way down. And then of course my next pass, we're going to work on, don't fold your album by the way yet, we're going to work on the sides here. So little by little. And we'll do it over here. Next step, what we're going to do is remove all the score tape backing. We're going to start with the long side, and you're going to start where your seam is and kind of press it, and then move little by little down, pressing. And we're going to do the other long side. Now one thing I will say is where your seam is when you burnish, don't go knocking against it. Go the way the seam's supposed to go. And then we can give a little burnish here. Now grab your bone folder, and what we're going to do is we're going to place a hand here and a hand like a finger right on that flap. And what that's gonna do is help keep this stabilized while we do our little trick here. You'll place your bone folder or tool right at the top, and by holding that down, it's gonna help keep this part stable. And all you're gonna do is like you're going around a corner, and it should tuck that in for you. And I'm gonna show you. I don't know if you can see, but it kind of tucked that in. Now down here, same thing, and we're just gonna round it this way. Now this is awkward for me, but I do kind of take my time to make sure I get around that corner and tuck it in. Now all we have to do is fold this over. And then we can go ahead and burnish. And if you need to press down any bulk, you can. So what you end up getting is a nice corner that's not so pokey. I'm gonna flip this around and we're gonna do the same thing. Up here, we're gonna move on to our next step. And what we need is our 4.5 by 9.5 spine cover. And I'm gonna place this out of the way. What we're gonna do on this is we're gonna put score tape all the way around like a picture frame. Then we're gonna line it side by side with the score tape. This whole piece gets covered. It's an important piece. It's what's gonna hold our inner pages down. Now when you get to the side, if your score tape's too wide, you can actually just overlap it, or if you have a 1/4 inch, use that. I'm just gonna overlap with mine. And I'm gonna give this a real good burnishing. Now I'm gonna remove the score tape backing. I have the backing all off this. Now make sure you have your front where it's supposed to be there. The idea of this is when we place this, we're gonna place it over this part. But it's important to know that this is 9.5 inches tall. Your chipboard is 10. You're gonna place this so it is a 1/4 inch up from the bottom, and try to get it on straight. I kind of look at the bottom of mine and just try to get it as straight as I can. If it's not completely, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. And after wrapping, sometimes your album's just a hair bigger than what you started with. And we're just gonna burnish that down really good. Now we're gonna fold on those hinges. Place a hand on the spine, slip one back behind, and slowly. Now people ask, how far do you go before it's unsafe? And what you want to do is just place your hand in an upright position and just keep going little by little until you hit it. Now it's going to seem pretty stiff and it's going to want to fold back on you, but by the time you are done with the album, it will be just fine because this is new and it's going to be a little stiff to start. So right about there. If you continue to go over too far, you will rip out your sides, and you don't want that. You're gonna want both of your 7 3/4 by 9.5 inside covers. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put score tape on the side that we wrote on. We're gonna go score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle and one on each side. And where this goes is, you see where your spine cover is? Well, this is exactly the same height of 9.5. So here is my hinge. I'm gonna stay away from it, but I'm gonna line up the bottom of this with my spine cover so that it keeps me straight. And I'm going to leave about 1/8 inch away from the edge here. So let's do that. And I'll show you what mine looks like before I place it with the score tape. If you get any overhang with your score tape, do clip it off because you will see it. And if you have overhang of adhesive, it doesn't look good. Dust will settle in, dirt will just grab onto it, and it'll make your album look dirty. So this is what your score tape should look like on each one of these. I got the score tape backing off, and I'm gonna place this now. I think that's good enough. And now I'm going to burnish. Let's do the same for this. Place it down, match it up with the bottom, leave about 1/8 away, and place and burnish. So this is what you should have, and what you want to do is just right front on the front. All right, we're going to set that off to the side. Let's get our inner pages. And what you're going to want to do is fold on that score line. So we'll have 5/8 of an inch spacing between our pages, which will be really roomy for us. So I'm going to show you first before we do. We will have score tape along on this little hinge here, this little flap. The score tape will be then, once we hold it like this, it's like an L. We're going to pull this up, and we're going to line the bottom of this up with our spine cover. Everything will line up and flow. We're going to pull this straight up, and we just line that up there. We place it, we're pushing up against that cover, and then we'll press. Okay, I'm going to set that off to the side, and I am going to erase my writing because we're going to be labeling these. So with the peak up on each one of these, I'm going to grab my 3/8 and I'm going to place it just to the right, about a 1/16 away of that score line. You don't want it on your score line. All the way from the top to the bottom. And then we're going to inspect to cut off any overhang. Now, if you're using the 3/8 like me, you're going to have to overlap. And you'll want to place it to where it does not go over the side, otherwise you'll be clipping that too. And we're going to give this a real good burnishing, and then we'll inspect. And we'll be doing this with each one of these. I know I've got overhang here, and I'm definitely going to clip it all off. And I'm pretty good there. Okay, let's get the other two ready to go. Now, one thing I want to point out is that if you skip the burnishing process, your stuff is most likely going to lift away from your spine. So burnishing you must do, and you do it well. Make sure you really get that. Another tip about the score tape is that you'll want to make sure your hands are free from any oils and lotions. All right, I have mine and I've burnished, and it's time to place our first one in the book. Here we go. Score tape backing is off. Here's my front. And I'm going to line this up once again with my inner spine cover. They should all line up. And we'll hold this straight up, press it up against, press down, and you're in. Just take your time. It's pretty easy. So then we'll just fold that over, and we'll give a good burnish from that side. Now these are easy. Once we release the score tape backing, all we have to do is press it up against this one, line it up with the bottom, and press. So let's do that. Here we go. Lining it up. It's up against there, and press. Give that a good burnish. Here's my last one. We're going to do the same thing. Got the score tape backing off. Press that up. And you will end up with a little more spacing in the back. And that's just fine. So when we have this, it's not going to be that far off on your spacing. You might have just a little bit more, but you should have them in nice like that. So if you got any splits or shards, I should say, sticking up from where that seam is, what you're going to do is take your glue and you're going to dab a little glue underneath that shard. Then you're going to take your finger and you're going to go in the direction that the shards need to lay. So it may be this way, it may be that way. Once you do that, tap it twice and leave it alone. Otherwise, you're going to probably tear it. Now, if you didn't get it down good enough after doing that, then you're going to let that dry, reapply a little glue, rub your finger over and tap, tap, and be done. Alrighty, we are now moving on to decorating the outside. We are on to decorating the outside, and we only had some pre-cuts, and these are just mats. We had a 7.5 by 7 3/4, and this was labeled Decor the Outside to let us know where it belonged. And then we had two pieces that were 2 by 3. They're a mat. And we're just going to stick those off to the side. Let's grab our album base here. We've already labeled the front. And we're going to go ahead and write back. We're back at the front. We're going to open it up. And we are going to go ahead and place a 1, a 2, and keep going here. And the reason why I like to label these is in case you ever take a break and you come back, you'll know where you are. 8. Okay, let's set that off to the side for a moment. In your paper pack, you will find this print, and on the back, it is this. Now, one thing is, if you are new, I like to stay consistent on how I tell you to cut. Generally, we'll be starting over here and cutting over this way. However, I may have you turn your page, start over here, and measure over this way. The reason why I do it like that is so we have the same leftover scrap pieces that fall off, as well as it stays consistent. I'm not having you cut up, down, left, right, all over the board. So it just kind of makes it easier. And in this album, this tutorial I'm doing is for this paper pack. I kind of designed it around it. And if you like what you saw in the beginning of the video, chances are you want to get the same results. And that's why I do it like I do. Our first cut, we're going to look at it like this. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. So my blade is right here. This piece for now put into your scrap pile. The scrap pile I call a reserve pile because we're reserving this piece to use again at another time in the tutorial, which may be sooner than later. After making that cut, we're going to turn it this way. The door is over here. Measure over 9 7/8 and cut. So 9 7/8, and we're going to cut. This piece put in your reserves. This piece here, if you were to lay it down on your front cover and kind of center it in there, it's going to give us a black border around it. And that's exactly what we want. I like to use score tape. If you prefer to use glue, go ahead. But score tape is my choice because I know that the edges are going to get down and I know I'm not going to have any bubbling up. So first thing I'm going to do is put score tape around the outside like a picture frame without going over. If you go over, you're definitely going to want to clip off. Once you have it all the way around, we're going to do 1 down the middle. And we will try to conserve on score tape where we can. So we'll put 1 on each side of that. And then what's going to happen is we're going to burnish this and then we'll remove the score tape backing. We might want to drizzle a little glue in between here. So let's get this ready to go. I definitely need to burnish. Because this is such a large piece, another thing that I like to do is, here's the front, right? Now, if I flip this over, here's the bottom of the front. I do like to squirt a little glue down the bottom and up the sides so that it gives me time when I place this on my album, a little wiggle room to straighten me up. And I'll drizzle a little in between. And now we place it on that front cover. So let's do that. And we're going to give that a good burnish. Now don't worry if you get it a little crooked. Chances are you're not really going to notice by the time you get done with this cover. We have a lot of layering going on here. by the time we're done. So there's mine. I'm going to set that off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it is this. Now we're going to do something a little bit different here because we need some pieces off this. The first thing I would like you to do is place this on your paper cutter. And you see where the side of this is? We're just going to cut straight down. And you'll want to use your paper cutter to keep it straight. So I am just going to get that on there. And I'm going to cut that off. And I do need this, so I'm going to set that off to the side. Next, I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to go and place this on my paper cutter and cut down. And I will show you what mine looks like when I'm done. And pretty much I am cutting right about here, I'd say. So I'm going to show you. So just a little bit of this part came off. And we can put this one in our reserves. So the pieces that we're gonna want are, we're gonna try and reserve as much of the stuff we don't need as possible in case we need it for something else. So I recommend the first thing is you see where Free Forever is? Just come up along the side there. Don't cut into your stairs. Come up just to the side. So in between this and this, I'm going to cut straight over. And of course it isn't going to be really straight because I'm not a straight cutter. The next thing is we're going to come in between and cut off Free Forever. Put that in your reserves. And we'll just get those separated out. And now I'm going to give you a measurement, so turn it looking like this. Measure over 7 3/4 and cut. This piece put in your reserves. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out and around this book. And I'll show you mine when I'm done, in case you'd like to see how mine looks before you start cutting yours. So when I'm coming up the side of the book, you'll notice that there is some greenery. We're just going to cut straight up, and that greenery is going to get cut off. Any pieces that you cut off, just put in your reserves for now in case you need it later for something. By the time you're done, it should look something like this. I think you can see. Probably see better what I did if I put it behind the mat. Now, speaking of that mat, grab your 7.5 by 7 3/4. You should be 7 3/4 wide, 7.5 tall. We're going to apply glue to this whole thing, and we are going to glue it down, and then we're going to cut out and around it, leaving about 1/16 of black border. So let's do that. And once again, I will show you what mine looks like. Also, what you're going to want to do is you're going to cut out the books, both of them, and then you're going to glue them down to your 2 little mats and cut out around that, leaving 1/16 of black border. So let's get that all done, and then I will show you what mine looks like. So here are my books. And here is this. There is one more piece that we need to get, but we'll get that in just a moment. Let's grab the front of our cover. Now, one thing I want to do with this is kind of give it a bend without creasing too much there. And then what I'm going to do is try to curve this out a little bit without creasing. And I'm only bending it as far as, you know, I come to the stairs and then I'm kind of easier on it. All right, so for this piece, what we're going to do is, because I want to be able to pop it up some, And if you're asking me, why did I back these with black cardstock? Number one, it's going to stiffen up this piece. Number two, the black is going to outline this to bring it forward. So the bottom of the stairs is going to go to the bottom of our decorative paper, designer paper. And then this, we're going to have it popped up a little. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue down here behind the stairs. And I'm going to get up in here on the sides, definitely down the middle. And I'll play around with this. If I need to add more glue, I will. First thing is to try to center it side by side. Now you can open this up. It might be easier for you. And wipe up any glue. But the idea is to try to center it a little bit. And now this part, before the glue sets, I can kind of bring it up a little bit. And I like to use my tool for that. And I'll hold it until that glue is set. And then I'll come down here, make sure that there's some glue down there, right under the stairs. And then this part is not glued down under here. Okay, so as you can see, mine is popped up pretty good. I think that looks nice. The next thing is we have these. And I am just gonna kind of bend them a little bit this way and that way. Kind of curl out the sides there. Kind of work it. And I think what I want to do is I want to put this one right here. So I'm going to glue the majority of this down. And I'm going to have those fling out. Now another way that you can stiffen up any pieces is if you have any glossy accents, you can apply it to it and it will stiffen it up. It will put a gloss finish on it. I'm not going to at this point. I don't think it's necessary. And then we have this little one, same thing. And I'm just going to stick that right there. Books are kind of flying away. Now, on the back side of your cover, you're going to see memories. And we're going to cut that out. I'm just going to kind of only cut what I need so that these stay attached. It's easier to find. And I'll put this in my reserves. I'm going to cut out and around this, and then I'm going to glue it down to some scrap black cardstock and cut around that, leaving a black border. So let's do that. I have mine done. And this is another piece that I want to bend. You know, you can use your bottle of glue to kind of give it a little bend there. And then on the edges, I'm just going to kind of pull them out just a little bit so that when it lays there, without creasing, it'll kind of pop up for us like this. And I think that's going to look really good. So glue goes here, glue goes here. And right here is where this goes. Let's see if I got that on pretty good. So these are all popped up, kind of dimensional. And I don't know if you can actually see the effects of what mine looks like, but if you're building it along with me, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So memories is there, it is slightly upraised. And now we're going to move on to getting our back piece. In your paper pack, you will have this print. On the back is the maps. The first thing I would like you to do is measure over 8 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We have a great piece here with our books. We're going to save that. It goes in our reserves. Now let's turn it this way. The spyglass is over here. Measure over 9 7/8 and cut. This is what you should have. We're actually going to have this piece on the back. So we're going to apply score tape around the outside, like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on each side. We'll burnish that, and then we'll remove our score tape backing. We'll shoot our glue in there and around the bottom. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to place this on the back, and that will give us a black border. And then to burnish it, we can just open it up and do that. So let's get this ready. All right, make sure your orientation is the correct way, and let's place this. This is what mine looks like on the back. Now we still have this piece, so we're just gonna lay it there. In your reserves, you will find this piece. It'll have the books. It's from the front cover. And on the back, it looks like this. We're gonna stick this on our paper cutter, and we're gonna cut right on down here to release this brown piece from over here. So let's do that really quick. I think that's pretty good. This piece, put in your reserves. So on this piece, what you're gonna wanna do is just kind of cut down the middle as best you can. Just kind of eyeball that, because it isn't really gonna matter too much. I'm just gonna kind of look and get that. But you'll wanna get it straight, I'd say. I'm just gonna go right there. And this one's a little smaller than that, but that's all right. Next, on all three pieces, and I have this part up here, we're gonna measure over 9 7/8 and cut on all three of these. And all these little cuttings, we'll just put in our reserves. Okay, here is the spine piece here. And what I'm gonna do is just open mine up so you can see better. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to situate this one, and of course I'm gonna leave a black border away from the edge. And I'm gonna situate this one over here. And then this one is gonna go right down the center, just like that. So what's gonna happen is, once you get this centered, and I like to keep my book like this to make sure that I'm getting it on straight and I'm leaving a black border all the way around. But it'll be looking like this. So I'm gonna begin. I'm gonna actually use glue for this in case I have to maneuver. Keep my book closed a little, try to line up with a little bit of a black border over there, and keeping it straight. And I'll take a peek. I think that's pretty straight there. Just trying to keep it. So now that I know where that's supposed to be, I'll burnish it and wipe up any glue that might seep out, which I have quite a bit. I'm gonna stand up to see what I'm doing here because the camera is in my way. Now this last one's easy. I'm gonna leave my book opened up, but I'll just put that right down the middle now. So now this is what our spine looks like. I think it looks pretty good. We may come back and add something to the spine, but for right now, decorating the outside is complete. I hope you like it. I think it looks really good. We are now moving on to page 1. We're on page 1. Let's review our pre-cuts. The first one we had was a 7 5/8 by 8 1/4, and we called that a folder. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 8 1/4 across, and we scored it 4 1/8. Next, we had a 5 1/4 by 9 1/8, and we called it a left fold out. And what you would have done is laid this on your scoring board so you were 5 1/4 across, and you scored at a 1/2 and 5/8. Next, we had a 3 1/8 by 9 1/8, and we called it a right fold out. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 1/8 across. We scored at a 1/2 and 5/8. We had a very small piece. We just called it a right tuck. There's no scoring. We then had a 1.5 by 4.5. We called it a left tuck. No scoring. We then had a 4 by 8 1/8, and we called it a pocket. What we did on this is we laid this on our scoring board. We are 4 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch. Then the instructions said to turn it or rotate it until you are 8 1/8 across. We scored at a 1/2 and 7 5/8. That's our pocket. And the last thing, I just had you cut a 4 by 7.5. We just called it a mat. In your paper pack, you will find this print, and on the back, it is this. What we're going to do is flip this upside down. This is over here. Measure over 7 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We're going to turn it to where this is on the right-hand side. Measure over 9 1/8 and cut. This is our main sheet. And let's see, how do I want to situate this? I think I'm going to situate this to where this is down at the bottom. First thing we're going to grab is that left fold out. And we're going to fold on those score lines. All right, our hinge is going to be off to the left. If you are new, you have an inside score line and an outside one. On the outside one, you're going to pinch and crease. You will still be able to see your other score line. We're going to hook that back behind. And the easiest way, if you are new, is once you tuck that all the way in there, is to pinch and hold on to it, flip it over, and use your hand to keep it steady. Now, if you felt it slip, you definitely are going to have to realign this so it doesn't go on crooked. But a good way to tell if you have it on straight is you will be able to see a score line going down, and it should be straight with your paper there. So we're going to add some glue to that flap. We'll fold it over and use our tool. Now, if you get too much glue or too close to where that score line was, what's going to happen is you can get glue seeping out in here. So feel with your fingers, make sure there's no glue. You can also burnish from this side. All right, we'll just leave that, and we want our right fold out. We're going to do the same thing. Folding on the score lines. And our hinge is off to the right. On the outside score line, pinch and crease. And since these are identical, they should be lined up with each other. So just make sure you are straight in there. And we'll glue that down. And I'm going to open this up, and there's no glue. Okay, so on this page, to situate yourself, the larger of the left fold out goes on the left side and the smaller on the right. Now we have that other score line here. We're going to fold on it, and then we're going to push it in. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. Fold on that and push it in. So they will almost connect there. And all that is giving us some spacing in there by doing that. And I can hear Roomba down below. Next thing we're going to do is just open that up. And we're going to grab our 4 by 8 1/8 pocket. If you are new, I'm going to show you how to do this. You will notice you have a score line down the sides and then situate it to where your score line is going across. Where they meet, it makes a square. We're going to cut out both of those squares. Right on the score line. And Then we're going to fold back on those flaps. Okay, if you were to pull in one side, you will see down in the corner how much glue to put without going over, because what's going to happen is it's going to fold up. So we don't want any glue over here. Fold those in, this goes up, and then we'll use our tool to kind of burnish that down. All right, so this lip is the bottom. So generally when I place this, I will say this is the top, this is the opening. If it's a side pocket, I'd go like this. So this piece here, what's going to happen is we're just going to bring that right down to the bottom of our decorated paper. It should fit side to side in between and not on your score line. So we're going to get that in there. Just get glue on your flaps, a little bit of glue. And we will bring it down and center that in between. We're going to use up some of our scraps, so we'll set that off to the side. In your reserves, you should have the spyglass piece. On the back, it's this. You should also have a 12-inch long piece that looks like this, and on the other side, it has some of the books here. Well, we're going to go ahead and make a cut on both of these. Having this over here, the spyglass here, measure over 7 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. And then on this piece, this is what you should have. We're going to apply glue first to the spyglass. We'll bring it down to the bottom of our pocket. Be sure that it does not get on your score lines. And then this one we're going to apply glue, and we're going to overlap that, and we're going to leave about a 1/16 of black cardstock showing. In your reserves, you will have this piece. It's 12 inches long. It has the wizard on one side, and then it has this on the other. We're going to turn it like this. Wizards over here, measure over 5 3/4 and cut. So the next thing I would like us to do with this piece is we are going to come up and cut around him all the way down. So let's do that really quick. I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm done. So when I cut this out, I only went so far down with my cutting, and then I left that alone. We're going to grab a piece of scrap black cardstock. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a black border, like a 1/16. I have mine done. This is what it looks like. So we're going to put this right on over the pocket, bring it to the left side. So what I would do is place it where it needs to be on the side without hitting your hinges. Pull it up a little bit so you can see how far over you need to go with your glue. Okay? Then you can just kind of look to see on the top of your pocket. Don't go past that. And let's see if there's anywhere else. I might bring this in a little bit. Instead of going all the way over, I think I'll do it like that. That way it's kind of open-ended, and we can get a little more in that pocket. But just watch where that hinges. Make sure you don't go over too far. Yeah, I like that. Now you should have this in your reserves. It has this over to the side. We're going to measure over 2 3/8 and cut. And on the back it looks like this, by the way. But have it looking at it up here and do that. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to bring it all the way down and center it in between this score line and the outside. And that should give you a black border over here, and you should bring it up to where you only have a 1/16 of black here. Let's get that down. Now bring this out of your reserve, and the one we're going to cut out and around is this, and then we'll cut it to fit what we want. So I'm just going to cut this out. And to make this easier for us, we're going to cut this. Try to be straight. Use your paper cutter if you need to be straight over here. You're going to want to put this on your paper cutter, but right here you see where we have this? Right in between in the middle. We're going to cut this all the way down, and I'll show you what mine looks like. So this is what I took off. Now measure over 2 3/8 and cut. We're going to apply glue to this and stack that right on top of that. All right, we're going to work on this side. In your reserves, you will have this. It has the books here. On the back, it is this. Look at it with the books over here, measure over 7 1/2 and cut. So now on this piece, what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors. We're going to leave this side alone. But over here, you see where the wood table is here? We're going to start cutting in and out and around this, coming down, and then we'll come down this area over. I'm going to show you what mine looks like in just a moment. So I'm going to show you. So it's only on this side, up through here, down to about where that ends, and over. You should have a 4 by 7 1/2 mat. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue this down. Now one thing is over here, you may want to take off about a 1/16. You can just do it by hand. The idea is when you lay this down, you should have a black border over there and off to the right a little bit. So if we need to trim this up a little, we can. And I'll show you what it should look like. We have a sliver of black over here and a sliver of black over here. So we're going to glue it down, and we're going to cut out and around, and we're going to leave that 1/16 of black showing. Okay, this is what mine looks like. It is not perfect by any means. And we're going to set this off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this print, and on the back, it is this. The first cut, measure over 4 1/2 and cut. Now we're going to turn this so that the book is over here. Measure over 8 7/8 and cut. Once you have that, we're going to apply glue, and we are going to place that. Now we're going to center that top and bottom, so you'll have a black border here and there. And you're going to move it over to where you have a sliver of black, and you will be far enough away from that score line there. So let's do that. Once you have that down, we're going to be applying glue back behind and underneath. It's going to come over to the left and down to the bottom, and that becomes a tuck for us. So across the bottom, up the side. And when you close this, this should not snag. So let's close that and work on the outside. In your reserves, you should have this piece. Turn it upside down. The door is up here. Measure over 2 3/8 and cut. Once you've made that cut, go ahead and situate this. The book is over here. Measure over 8 7/8 and cut. And then what you'll have is this, and this piece goes in our reserves. We're going to apply glue to this side, and we are going to center it right on in here. So let's do that really quick. Make sure you center that top and bottom. Now, while it's closed, I'd like you to grab your 1 1/2 by 2 3/8 right tuck. This piece is going to come right on over the cardstock here. And all we're going to do on this is put glue down this side and along the bottom. And we're going to leave it open over there. So if I'm looking at my writing and I just rotate it, glue. So the glue's under there, and I'm going to match it up with my decorated paper to the bottom of the decorated paper and to the right of it. But you want to leave that open. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back is the books. but we're going to situate it to where this is at the top. And over here is this. Measure over 1 3/8 and cut. This is what you should have. Flip it over. You should have the books looking like this. The little part is here. We'll apply some glue. We'll just glue that down. And we'll make sure that it leaves a little bit of a black lip. It's time for us to get this side. In your paper pack, you will have this print. On the back, it is this. Measure over 6 7/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We want this one. Measure over 4 1/2 and cut. This piece, put in your reserves. We're going to turn it this way. The owl is over here. Measure over 9 3/4 and cut. So this is what you should have. We're going to turn it this way now. Measure over 8 7/8 and cut. Now when you make that cut, you'll see where you have mystery. I'd like to use that. This piece we're going to apply glue, and we're going to center it right on in and try to keep the top of the decorated paper over here even with that one. Let's get that down. All right, now it is time to get our 1 1/2 by 4 1/2 left tuck. And we're going to apply glue under this side and over here. So if I rotate it, I'm going to put glue over here. Leave that alone. We're going to match that up with our other one. Make sure we come to the side of our decorated paper over there. Now in your reserves, you will have this print on the back. It is this. Turn it this way. Measure over 1 3/8 and cut. So now we're going to look at it like this. This part is at the bottom. Measure over 4 1/2 and cut. Let's apply glue and get it on that tuck. All right, so for mystery, we're just going to cut it straight up, and I'll bring this up so it kind of evens it up, but the little scroll comes off. Whoops! The little scroll comes off, and I'm just going to cut straight across here and get the rest of that off. I'm going to grab a piece of black scrap cardstock, glue this down and cut out and around it. And you don't have to be perfect. I know I'm far from, but once it's all together, it looks good. All right, mystery right here. Let's just glue that down. All right, let's set that off to the side. Now, we did not use any magnets on this page, and the reason why is because our folder, which we're going to get after right now, is going to hold it shut. So here's this. Let's fold on that score line. So this is what's going to help keep that closed. Okay, the opening is off to the right. And this is what we want to get out of our reserves. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to look at it like this. I'm going to put this on my paper cutter. And you see where the blue meets this? We're going to cut it straight down in between, and I'll show you what mine looks like. So you can see I left that. We'll put that in reserves. And now what we're going to do is put this on our paper cutter. Over here, we're going to cut between the blue and the tan straight down, and we're going to do the same here. All we're trying to get is the door, the blue door. So this is what I have. And if you were to lay this down, you'll see that it gives us a black border side to side. Now, what we want to do on this is, here's your thing. We're going to measure to cut. So lay it down, give yourself a black border here on the sides. And when you come down to the bottom, you can see how far you need to trim. So I usually just do a pencil mark here. And now I'm going to trim, and then I'll show you. It should have a nice black border all the way around this print. So I made my cut, and now this is going to fit nicely. Let's glue it down. All right, let's just place it in there. Voila! Here is our page 1. Now, as far as the inside, at the end of the tutorial, I can put solid colored cardstock in there if there's not enough of the decorative paper to go inside. But for now, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to flip it over. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame. 1 down the middle and 1 on each side. So there's that. We are not going to place this in our book just yet. We place page 1 in the book after page 2. However, there is something, we're going to just set this off to the side. Page 1 is complete. We're going to move on to page 2. But there is something that I wanted to do to the cover. Grab this out. I wanted to add a little something. Now, it's up to you completely if you want to do this. If you're fine with your cover, it looks awesome. But I think I wanted to add a little bit of blue right down the side here and see how it looked. I'm going to situate this, and I'm going to measure over 1/4 inch and cut. And you do not have to do this. This is in your reserves. So here is that 1/4 inch strip. What I was wanting to do is add some blue over to the side of my book. And all I'm going to do is just kind of match this up. Make a pencil mark and cut. Here. This is optional. If you do not like the way that looks, then you don't have to, but I am going to add that just for a little something. You could also do this side as well, if you'd like, and that would look good. But I was looking at it and my head started thinking, I think it needs a little blue over there. So that's what I'm going to do. So there is mine. All right, we are moving on to page 2. We're on page 2, and we have one pre-cut. We cut a 3 3/8 by 8 1/8, and we called it a pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 3/8 across. We scored at 1/2. We then turned it, so now we're at 8 1/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 7 5/8. We're going to go ahead and get our pocket ready. Here's our score lines down the side, down the bottom. Cut out the squares. If you're new, this is what it should look like. Let's go ahead and fold on those score lines, folding back. And we will get our glue there, down in the corners. And then we're going to bring that up. Okay, let's set that off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this print, and on the back, it is this. Let's turn this completely upside down. The violin is over here. Measure over 7 1/8 and cut. So after making that cut, this is what you should have. The smaller one goes in your reserves. And we are going to turn this looking at it like this. Violin's here. Measure over 9 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. I want you to save that. Put that off to the side. This is our main sheet. Let's grab our pocket. The opening is here. This is a quick, easy page for us. And you can pucker this out if you'd like. We're going to bring it down to the bottom of our piece. And I'm going to pucker mine just a little bit to give me a little bit more room. So we're going to grab this piece, and what we're going to do is turn it. Here is that band. I want you to measure over 1/8 and cut, just a sliver off. So let's check and make sure. If we were to bring this down to the bottom of our pocket, we should have a black band of our cardstock showing through. If you need to trim off just a little bit more, do so. We're going to apply glue to the side that has the blue. Now, in your paper pack, the very back sheet, we're going to find this. You see this book here with the magnifying glass? We want to cut that out. So I'm just going to come in from the side, cut close to the book, and to get it out without separating all my papers. So I have mine out. I'll put that in reserves. Grab a piece of black cardstock, a scrap, and just set it off to the side. Let's cut out and around this. And if you're using, like me, the distress ink, I am going to be inking around the edges of this. So I'll show you first what mine looks like after cutting it out, and then I will distress the edges with some ink. Couldn't find my dauber that belongs to this, so I just grabbed a new one. So all I'm going to do is just kind of go around the edges of this. It's not necessary, but I'm going to. The cardstock size of your scraps is just something that is going to be big enough for you to glue this down, cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a black border. And the black border probably about a 1/16. So I have mine down and I'm getting ready to cut. I'll show you mine as soon as I'm done. It'd be pretty boring just to sit there and watch me try to cut this whole thing out because I'm slow. So here is mine. We're just going to lay that down for right now. Grab this out of your reserves and we are going to clip out album. And we are going to glue this down to some black cardstock and cut out and around that. If you'd like to use your ink to distress it, you can. All right, let's grab album. I'm going to just glue that down right here. I think you can see what I'm doing. And then for this one, I'm just going to put some glue along the sides and the bottom in case I want to slide a tag in there. I'll bring it down here. All right, page 2 is complete. Flip it over. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on each side. Burnish, and I will meet you at the book. So we're going to place our page 2 in, and then we'll do our page 1. Now I'm going to slip something back behind here so you can see just a little bit better. I think I'll just slide this whole thing underneath there. You can see the edges of where my cardstock is. The idea of this is once we remove the score tape, maybe shoot a little glue down here so we can maneuver. You see where your hinge is? Well, we're going to stay about a 1/4 inch away from that hinge there. So when you place it, you're going to have a nice border going around. You'll center that top and bottom too. So your border should look fairly much the same. And that's all there is to it. So let me get my score tape backing off and I will place this in real time for you so you can see. Okay, I put a little bit of glue there, once again, 1/4 inch away. And we're going to try and center this top and bottom the best we can. So that should give you a good 1/8 of an inch away from your sides. And I think I'm just going to go with it right here and hope that that's straight. Looks pretty straight to me. All right, so page 1, the reason why we do it after is because the inside of our chipboard cover is larger than our inner pages. So when we place this, we're going to do the same thing. We have our score tape on there. We're going to shoot some glue down here so we can maneuver just in case. Now here's the hinge part of our page 1. The idea is to line up the bottom of this with the bottom of over here. And we are just going to center it in there in between the hinge and the outside. And we will place it. So I'm going to get my score tape backing off. And then we're going to place this together. Or you can watch first before you do yours. But there is no rush. It may take you 3 minutes just to place it. It could take you 30 seconds. I'm going to try and get this on as straight as I can. And once you get that down, now's the time to just open this up and burnish. Make sure it's all down. So there is our page 1 and 2 in the book. We are now moving on to page 3. We're on page 3 and we have several pre-cuts. So let's start. The first thing we would have done is cut 2 pieces that are 5 5/8 by 6 1/4. We called this a back fold out. And on each one of these, what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 6 1/4 across. We scored at a 1/2 and 5/8 on each one of these. Next, we had a 6 3/8 by 8 inch pocket. And I did have a note on the PDF to not assemble this and get ahead, because there is something we need to do that'll make it a little bit easier if we don't assemble it yet. So the first thing that we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 6 3/8 across. We scored at a 1/2. We then turned it. We are now 8 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 and 7 1/2. Next, we had a 7 3/4 by 9 1/8, and we actually called this a large fold out. So what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 7 3/4 across. We scored at a 1/2 and 3/4. Next, we had a 5 1/2 by 6 3/8, and we called it an FO flip. It's our fold out flip. And what we did with this is we laid this on our scoring board. We are 5 1/2 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch. And that's it. And again, it doesn't matter if your starting point is here or here. I'll get us situated. The last piece was a 7 7/8 by 11 inch piece. We called it an envelope. The first thing we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 7 7/8 across. We scored at a 1/2 and 7 3/8. We then turned this, and now we're sitting at 11 inches across. We scored at 2 3/8, 2 1/2, and 6 7/8. All right, let's get started. In your paper pack, you will have another one of these. On the back side, it looks like this. The first thing that I would like you to do is to measure over 7 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. Put that in your reserves. Now turn it this way, measure over 9 1/8 and cut. And we're just going to flip that over, and we're going to have this go in like this, okay? So on this side it'd be upside down. This side is the side we want. The first pieces that we want are the 5 5/8 by 6 1/4. These are our back fold out. And we're going to go ahead and fold on both of those score lines on each one of our pieces. Okay, we're going to have a hinge off to the right and a hinge off to the left. Let's get our right one on first. Here's our little hinge on the outside score line, pinch and crease. Slide that right on in there and try to get it somewhat centered top and bottom. And we're going to glue that down. So while it's still flattened out, grab your other one. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease, and we're just going to slide that over the other. Make sure that they are lined up. right, I'm going to situate myself here, make sure I am going the right way and I don't have any glue going through there. That's good. All right, so in this particular one, the left is going down first and then the right. Make sure that they are fully flattened down. Don't fold back on the other score line yet. Grab your 7 3/4 by 9 1/8 large fold out. And we're going to fold on those score lines. Our hinge is off to the left here on the outside score line, pinch and crease. And we're going to slide that back behind here. And do the same thing we've been doing. Okay, now that we have that, we'll check to make sure we don't have any glue seeping out. I do have a little bit, so I'll fix that in just a moment. I'm going to fold back on the other one, press and push in until I have that nice spacing over here. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Push that one in and do on this. And I'm going to wipe up any glue there. Push in and set this off to the side. Let's grab that envelope. So as you can see, I have this top portion, the shorter up here, and then our two pieces. What we're gonna do, and I'm putting mine on my paper cutter, but I am going to cut on that score line all the way down until I hit this one, and then I'll go across. I don't have a blade that lifts up and down. Mine just goes like this, so I'm just gonna line this up with my paper cutter, and I'm gonna make sure I don't go down too far. Okay, I'm gonna flip it over and do the other side. Make sure it's the right side I'm supposed to be on. All right, so this is what yours should look like at this point. The short side is up here, we have that, and now we're just going to cut across. So now that you have this, flip it over. We're going to fold in those sides towards us. We're not going to glue this, like I said, not yet. Now here, our score line, we're going to pull up. And we'll use our tool. Okay? And now on each one of these little score lines, we are going to fold, again, towards us. And this one. Okay, we're not going to glue this down yet. In your reserves, you will find this piece. Right now, this is about 2 7/8 by about 7 1/8. We'll look at it like this, where this is over here. Measure over 6 5/8 and cut. After making that cut, we're going to turn it this way. Measure over 2 1/4 and cut. All right, so again, do not glue this down yet or anything, but you can close it up just to verify. So what we're looking to do is place that down. It should give us a black border, side to side, top and bottom. Top and bottom will have a little bit less of a border than on the sides there. All right, let's lay this out. And you're gonna need your pencil and your ruler. So we're 6 5/8 across. Now at 3 5/16, make a little pencil dot right on the edge. So that is about the halfway mark. Next, what you're gonna do is on the side here, from down here to up, 3/4, make your little dot, and we're going to do this. And just draw a line. That is pretty centered, I would say. Anyway, I'm going to put this on my paper cutter and cut to get a straight line. And I'll be right back. After doing that, this is what you should have. It's just a slight thing. So again, with this folded in, this pulled up, this down, now grab this and just lay it out. We're going to apply glue. Now we can do this side up if we wanted, which would look really good. I'm going to use this side. I'm going to apply my glue to this. And the only reason why I'm folding it out like this is so I can see the edges. Now you have 2 score lines here, one in the bottom, or one right here, and then one above. The bottom one is the one we're going to line up with. So what you're going to do is get that on there side to side evenly. And you should leave yourself about a 1/16 of your black cardstock down here. But we're just going to try and get that on as even as possible. And it looks like I did okay. And I'll flip it back, clean up any glue. For me, that's easiest, but if it's easier for you just to go for it, then do so. So now you can see what you need to do here. We're going to put this on our paper cutter or do it by hand and cut, leaving a 1/16 of black cardstock. And I think I'll just do mine by hand. I think I'll do the best you can. I was going to put it on my paper cutter, but I'll just try. No, not too bad. So now this is what I have. All right, now we can go ahead and apply glue to our little things over here, our little flaps. Pull it up and make sure your sides are even. Let's get our paper for this. In your reserves, you will have this print. What we're going to do with this one is turn it like this where the dark brown is over here. Measure over 4 inches and cut. Once you've done that, turn your piece like this, measure over 6 5/8 and cut. All right, we're going to verify this fits first. We're going to center that side to side, and you should have a black lip up here. Mine's good. If you'd rather have that side up, you can. All right, there is our envelope, and you should be able to fit some good size photos in there, photo mats in there. Let's set that off to the side, and we're going to grab our large fold out. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back, you will have this. Right now, this is 6 7/8 by 12 inches. Now we need to take off just a little bit off the side, so measure over 6 5/8 and cut. All right, let's turn this. You see where this really pretty trim is? Well, I want you to cut right to the side of the dark brown little trim piece of that and cut all the way down, so right below the window. I will show you mine first before you cut yours. All right, I'm going to bring this up. So you can see I left that dark brown part on this trim. Put that in your reserves. Let's apply glue. And we are looking at the outside fold out, and we are going to center that side to side. Now, you're going to make sure it's even side to side. You will leave yourself about 1/8 of an inch from the top, and we're going to glue that down. So it looks like the neighbors are out doing some work, and it's going to get pretty loud. So I'm going to take a break from filming, and I'll come back. I hate when I have to do that because I have all these papers in mind that I've already mentally made a note of what I wanted to do, but that's okay. We're going to get through this really quick here. Grab your envelope. All right, so for the envelope, I want to make it so it is still a pocket. So here is the top part. Flip it over, we're going to place some glue just along the edges and the bottom. We'll bring it down to the bottom of our piece. We'll try to line up the decorated paper with up here. And you can leave about a 1/16 of black showing down there. I think I'm even enough. I'm just going to open this up. Boy, that's noisy. And I think that looks really good. All right, when we come back, we're going to go ahead and tackle these. Well, I had just enough time to take a break and get me some coffee here. Let's continue. We're going to work on these fold outs, the inner ones. In your paper pack, you will have this print. On the back, it is this. Now, all we're going to do is stick this on our paper cutter, and we're going to cut each one of these out. And I'll show you mine when I'm done. So now that I have all these, we need to place them, except for this one. I want you to put this one off to the side. We cannot put that one down yet because we have to place a magnet on this right-hand side. We'll actually, what we'll do is we will take our right fold out, open that up. Here's our left fold out. And we're going to get for over here first. And I think I want to use this one. So I'm going to apply glue to this. And I'm going to center it in there. Now check to make sure before you add your glue that this is going to fit. And it should give you a slim black border all the way around without going over the edge. And mine does. If you need to do a little more trimming off, do so. So I got that one down. And I'll open that up. So the last two that we have are these. Now this one, I want the color, so I'm going to apply glue to this side, and I'm going to center it right on in there without getting on that score line. And then for this one, I'm going to put glue on this side, and it's going to place right on over here. All right, so I have these, and again, we're leaving that one alone. Let's get our paper for in here. In your reserves, you will have this print, and on the back is this. That's what you're going to need. Next, in your reserves, you will have this piece. On the back, it is this, and also you will have this piece. So on these two, here's the red one, and then here's this one. I'm going to put it to where the words are over here. And on each one of these, we're going to measure over 6 5/8 and cut. So we have all of these pieces here now that are all 6 5/8. Grab your 5.5 by 6 3/8 FO for fold out, flip. We're going to fold on that score line. What you're going to do with this now and this is you're going to put that flap back behind. And all you're going to do for a measurement is to cover the bottom of the book, just covering it, and just kind of hook that on. Now we're only going to put glue right now to where the paper is across, okay? That's all we're going to do. Just right through there, not under there. Okay? Now what I'd like you to do is just open that up and clean up any glue. And so we'll set that off to the side. Now we have this piece right here. And I have this going here. We're going to apply glue to this. And I'm just going to center this. I'm going to bring this down 1/8 of an inch from the top and center this side to side. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to close this up. Now we will have some peeking out the side, but that's okay. So we're just going to apply our glue to this, and we're going to apply the glue to the back of our piece. Hold it shut, and what you can do is kind of open it up for a moment to make sure that you are pretty much in line with this one. Just do the best you can and leave that 1/8 at the bottom. Close it. And then we're going to burnish and wipe up any glue. Don't worry about this over here. Stick it. Next, we're going to take this. We're going to apply glue to the back of that. And we're going to butt that right up next to this one. And it's going to overlap on the other. Make sure that it lines up and it is not going into your score line over there. So it should all line up pretty good there. Now in your reserves you will have this piece. This is about, I would say, 1/2 inch to 5/8. I'm right in between there, so my cut must have been wrong somewhere. But it has this, and it's long. So what you're going to want to do is just kind of put it like this. We're going to bring it over to match up. And we can just make a pencil line with this. Either that or you can measure over 6 5/8 and cut. I'm just going to do it like this, guys. And now I'm going to lay it over. If you would rather have this side with up there, you can. But we're trying to use up some of these pieces and make it work for us. So I'm going to butt that right up next to it, and that should cover that black. All right. Let's grab magnet. We'll need a plus and a minus. So on this one, there's my minus. So on this one, what you're going to want to do is measure over approximately maybe 3/4 and just place that right in the middle there. So from your little hinge mark, your score line, maybe 3/4 to the edge, and place that. Now I want you to close that up. Grab your other one, and when you place this on there, it's going to fold over. Don't remove the backing. We're going to take our glue and we're going to dab just a dot in the middle. Okay? Now we're going to bring this over. We're going to make sure it's lined up straight, press, and carefully lift off. Now you can see where your circle is, where that's supposed to go. So I'm going to grab that magnet, and I'm just going to go right where that's supposed to be and place it. Now carefully, without moving this around because your glue is still not settled, I want you to remove the backing. Remember this? Apply glue, and we're going to get that right on over there. So let's do that. Guys, I am all thumbs today. Everything I touch just kind of falls from my hands. It's crazy. Very clumsy. And again, make sure this is going to fit first, that you don't have to do any trimming before you lay it. And you should be okay. So now what's going to happen is when this is closed, this is going to magnetically grab now. So we're going to open this up now, and we're going to get our pocket ready. Now the only thing that we're going to do with this pocket, and this is why I said not to pre-assemble this on the PDF, is we're going to do it, just do like we normally do, is cut out those squares, and we're going to fold back, but we are not going to adhere yet. Okay? We're going to fold, use our tool to help it. All right, so if we were to fold in the sides and press up on the bottom without gluing it, we can actually see where our true edges of this are. All right, in your paper pack, you will find this. On the back, it's this. So I'm just, for now, going to just clip this out. Cut them off the page. And the one that we want is the one with the dragon. Okay, so for this I want straight edges. I am going to use my paper cutter to cut down the sides and across the bottom in between to separate each one of these. And then what we can do is just use our scissors to cut that out. So I'll show you mine in just a moment. So after doing that, this is what you should have. Straight edges, no white border around each. If you have any white border, clip it off. And now I'm just going to use my scissors to cut out that little curve the best I can. So let's do that. All right, I have mine. None of the white border is showing. Let's start with the dragon. And this is important. Well, you can do this any way you want, but how I envision this is here is the top, the opening, and of course our sides are pushed in. When we place our first one, it's the dragon. And we're going to leave only a 1/16, a sliver of black showing on the side. I mean, just a sliver, and a 1/16 from the bottom. That should leave you about a 1/16 of black above the bookmark. Okay? We'll burnish that. Now, what I wanted to do is leave black, just a sliver of black in between each one. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab this one. We are going to add our glue. Now this one goes all the way to the right with a 1/16. And the reason why I'm starting here and here is so that we can center it in these better. So I'll have this in, bring it down, only a 1/16 and a 1/16, a sliver on the side. Trying to get that as straight as I can. I think I'm in there pretty good. Okay, your other two pieces now, with the sides and everything folded out of the way, lay down this one and then lay down this one. That should give you a 1/16 of black showing in between each one. So that's what we want. Let's get that down. All right, so I got these all down. I'm going to clean up any glue that's seeped out on me. Okay, now you can open this all up, your flaps at the bottom. We're going to come in from the side and we're going to cut out and around these, leaving a 1/16 of black showing. And I will show you mine as soon as I am done, because it's going to take me a moment. All right, so I just got mine done, and I'm not perfect, but I did the best I could. Now what we can do is fold in the sides on the back, and we can adhere this. And it would have been a lot harder if we adhered it first and then tried to do all that cutting. So that's why I had us do it like that. All right, so we're on the very back. Here are our fold outs. We're going to apply glue. We're going to center that in between both sides. You can pucker it up a little bit too. And we'll get that in there. Good size pocket for us. All right, we got that. We have that. It is time to tackle this. This may pop up just a little bit if you got a little crazy with your puckering, but it will settle down, and again, when it's all done, it will latch for us. Over here, now in your reserves, you will have this print, and on the back it is this. Now this should fit perfectly for us if you were to lay it down. This piece is about 4 7/8 by about 6 1/4. So if I was to lay this down on top of the fold out there and leave myself just a little bit of a black border on the sides, about a 1/16, it'll fit. So let's get that down. All right, let's open that up. In your reserves, you will find this piece on the back. It is this. It is about 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You will also find this is 12 inches long, and on the back it looks like this. And again, you will find another piece that's 12 inches long and looks like this. On this piece, if you were to turn it around and put the red image, again, all thumbs, over here, measure over 4 3/4 and cut. So this is what you should have. We're going to apply glue to this. And we're going to center it side to side. So don't get on your square line, and bring it down to where you have maybe a 1/16 or so. We're going to start here. Next, you're going to place this on top. And you're going to bring it over to the right and match it up with the right side of your little piece here. Now mine is crooked at the top, so I'm not going to worry about that because that's where I hand cut when we were cutting out some things, so don't worry about that. Just match up the straight edge down here. Now for this, and some of us when we hand cut may differ, we're going to start off with one measurement and then we'll trim to fit. So I have this little writing on the book over there. Measure over 6 1/4 and cut. So bring this up to where it covers the top of your piece here. Leave yourself about a 1/16 down below and up here, and we're going to glue that down, and then we're going to get a piece to go across there. So we're just kind of patchwork in this. You should have a very long, skinny piece that looks like this. It has some color up through here. On the back, it is this. And we're going to use that. This is where we're going to measure to fit. So you can come to the side of the book, or if you need to go all the way over, you can. I'm going to come to the side of the book, and this will straighten up my edges here. And I'm just going to make a pencil mark and trim that. Now, for me, I have some blue. I'm going to look and see how that looks. And that does give it a nice color, but I am going to use this one. It's a little lighter. It kind of makes all the other colors pop out. Okay, so because we may have cut this a little bit different than each other, especially if you needed to go all the way over to the side, this piece here, I want you to set off to the side. This is going to be in case, and we may not use it, but in case we need to measure to fit on something, I just don't want to pull this back out of my reserves and have you think it's as long as mine when maybe yours is a little shorter from having to go side to side. So this is something I'm just going to set off to the side, and that'll also remind me that yours may be shorter than mine, different. All right, that looks pretty cool. Now, in your reserves, you will have this print. It has all our cut aparts. It's time to get that dragon out. And all we're going to do is cut out and around the dragon. Then what we're going to do is glue him down to black cardstock, cut out and around, leaving a black border of about a 1/16. So let's do that. That's going to take a moment. And you can be as detailed as you'd like on this. And if you need to cut off little things that it's almost impossible to cut out and around, you can. So I'm going to take a moment and do this. So before putting it to black cardstock, this is what mine looks like. I'm going to slide this back behind so you can kind of see, though, my outline. So some of it I cut very close, and then other parts I kind of left some of the white. And up here, this is how I ended up doing mine. I just cut out and around that. So now I'm going to glue it down and cut out and around. So I have mine done, and what you're going to want to do is open this up. We have this here, but we're going to line this up with our decorative paper, and we are going to go ahead and glue that down to leave it as a tuck. So I'm going to just rotate that back over here, going down and across the bottom. That's where I think I want. Originally I was going to put it somewhere else, but I think that looks pretty cool. So if I have a photograph, it can slide back behind to store photographs in there. Now, if yours is really warped really bad, say you put your glue down behind the dragon onto your black cardstock and it kind of warped when you were cutting it out because maybe the glue wasn't completely dried or just the way our hand move it was, you can kind of give it a little bend. But if it becomes a big problem, just put a little glue back underneath over here, and that will hold him down a little bit better. So it's up to you, and leave the top open. So that's something you can do. All right, so this looks really good. We have a good spacing in there. The only thing I'd like to do to finish this up is, let's see. Oh, so many options, guys. I'm going for the owl. So cut out and around your owl. And looks like my little magnifying glass is going to be off that page. So I'm just going to put this all over here. Cut out and around, glue it down to some black cardstock, and then we're going to be placing him. All right, I've got mine done. Now the idea on this is just to make sure that you put just enough glue back behind here. So I'm just going to go for it. And I can wipe up any glue. But you don't want them high because then you can't open this. Just kind of putting them in there. I wasn't going to have anything there originally, but now I've decided I would like to. I think he's on pretty straight there. All right, I'm going to check, make sure I don't got any glue. All looks good. All right, page 3 is complete. That was a long page to do. Our page 4 won't be as detailed like that. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle and one on each side. Put your glue along the bottom, remove your score tape backing. I will meet you at the book because I want you to place this so that it gives you more room when turning pages. All right, we are here at the book, page 3. All right, so of course we're going to center this top and bottom, but the side over here needs to come flush with the side over here. That's what's going to give us a little bit more room when away from that. So just make sure you are lined up. You can fill with the side, press it down, and then we're going to burnish really good. So I think that looks really nice. Once again, this one goes over that. That comes over. And your flap should stay down pretty well, especially because I had us put the spacing on the envelope. And that's what the spacing was for, to help it lay flat, especially if there's something in there. It just gives it a little more. All right, we are now moving on to page 4.